Welcome to Zimmerman Podcast, episode 58. Today, I'm sitting down with one of my all-time favorite guests, Ashley Nell Tipton. My listeners who are Project Runway fans might recognize her as the show's season 14 winner. Ashley is passionate about plus-sized fashion and turned her love for sewing and design into a real deal business right out of school. Today, Ashley shares what it was like growing up overweight. She also shares the process of filming Project Runway, the importance of inclusive self-expression, bringing your unique voice to your work, and how much we both love therapy. Ashley is incredible, and I can't wait for you to listen to this episode with her. All right, you ready? Let's do it.
Welcome to the Zimmerman Podcast with your host, CEO, wedding professional, educator, and mom, Jessica Zimmerman. In just 2 years, Jessica went from facing bankruptcy to taking home a six-figure salary. She turned a business-saving $100,000 loan into a $1 million empire. As a creative entrepreneur, a healthy work-life balance seems just as unattainable as a six-figure income. But Jessica Zimmerman is here to show you it's possible. With the right tools and insider tips and some hard work, your craziest dreams can become your daily routine. If you set some boundaries and commit to healthy changes, you can create a business and a life you love. So let's make your business work for you.
Ashley, thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
It's going to be fun. Okay, so you are the Project Runway Season 14 winner, a Forbes Top 30 Under 30 visionary, and an advocate for plus-size representation in fashion. So aside from those amazing accomplishments, can you give us some insight into your story, how you got started in fashion and design, and what your life and business has looked like in the past few years since Project Runway?
Of course. Well, I've always known since a young age that I was a creative kid. Growing up, for me, I learned quickly that I had a reading and writing disability that was dyslexia. And I knew it was different. I didn't really understand like what was my purpose in life and like having this disability and how can I overcome it. So I kind of just gravitated towards being more creative and being more hands-on and visual. And I think that's where my love of designing and clothing came from, because there was a desire of wanting to wear fun clothing, but being plus size as a child, that was not available at all. So I just always remembered being in my room or playing with my Barbie dolls and dressing them up in these imagination outfits that I had in my head or that I had seen in magazines. And my grandmother taught me how to sew when I was 7 years old. And always had that passion for creating clothing, especially. And as I got older, I started testing out how to make clothing for myself and for friends. And I ended up creating a collection my senior year of high school, using all my friends as my models. And I love the process of having an idea, drawing it on a piece of paper, and then figuring out the steps that you need to take in order to get that piece that you want to create. And so there was a lot of, the unknown, because I wasn't educated in creating clothing. I just knew how to put two pieces of fabric together. And I loved that process that made me want to go to school and further my education in fashion design. And so that's exactly what I did. So by the time I was in my senior year of college, I decided to showcase my first plus size collection at Full Figure Fashion Week, which it's huge in the plus size community. It's like the huge awards or the huge fashion week for just plus size people. And I was only 20 years old and I had shown my first collection there. And it was such a positive feedback that I wanted to continue to create for plus size women and turn it into an actual business. So straight out of college, I opened up my own business in my parents' garage, and it was success overnight that I learned a lot about myself as a business owner. I was like, I know nothing about business, but I know everything about design. So I knew I needed to educate myself and surround myself with people who had a little bit more business knowledge than me that I can learn from.
I love that you said that you were really interested in it as a kid. My listeners have heard me say this a million times. They're so sick of it. But I think that one of my biggest responsibilities as a mom is to really watch. I have twin boys that are 4 years old, and I have a daughter who's 6. And I believe that our natural born gifts and our talents, are woven into us, the minute we're born, or, as we're being created. And I think that those a lot of times can get shoved down, by someone saying that that's not cool, or that's not good, or that's you're not good at that, or that's not relevant, or whatever that might be. That by the time, gosh, we're 18 and someone says, what do you want to do with your life? Which, by the way, is a ridiculous question to ask an 18-year-old. But I think that, we go, well, I don't know, I'm not passionate about anything, which isn't true, because we were born passionate about things, and that they get shoved down. So I think one of the most important things for me is to really look at my child and notice what they're naturally good at and what they naturally gravitate towards. And once they start to let that go, really kind of remind them of that and say, hey, why aren't you doing that anymore? Why aren't you drawing anymore? I think what's kind of interesting is my daughter Stella, at the beginning of last school year, she was making a really big deal about what she was wearing. And let me just say, she had just turned 6. And I was like, it's fine. You're just going to wear this. It's great. Like, no, like, and I had said to her, I said, clothes don't matter. What matters is what is inside, how you are. And as the words came out of my mouth, Ashley, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what if clothes matter to her in the way of like creativity, or,
Mhm.
what if she wants to be involved in this? And so I took her to school, and then I thought about it. I mean, I'm telling you, all day. I was like, what if that was her passion and I just smashed it? And now she thinks she could never do that because mommy doesn't think clothes are important, which that isn't true. But I just, I don't think it's the most important thing. I think what's in your heart is more. And so we came home later, and I had that talk with her, and we got through it. And I've told her, if that is important to you, then it is important to me, and we're gonna work through it. And I want you to be able to share with me, when things are important to you. But we just are gonna start getting ready a little earlier or something.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Because at least you took the time to understand from her point of view. Because that reminds me of when my mom used to dress me up as a kid, and she would buy all my clothes for me. And I hated it because she always wanted to dress me the way she wanted to dress me up to hide my fatness. She always wanted to put me in dark clothes, always wanted to put me in vertical stripes, always clothing that was not my age. It was a little bit older. Like, I was shopping in the misses when I was 10 years old. So it really scarred me. I mean, I'm not trying to say this to scare you about your daughter, but I really think that as a kid, it's a way of self-expression.
Right. Totally.
And that's all I ever dreamt of wanting to do as a child, was to be able to express who I was through my clothing, because I would see it on other people and kids, and I always questioned, why was I not able to do that? And it wasn't until I got older that I realized that the fashion industry, it doesn't cater to that audience, doesn't cater to kids who may be bigger than a size extra large or something like that. And it was even until I got older that there wasn't a lot of cute fashion for younger gender and younger kids who were bigger.
May I ask you a question, and you can totally school me on this and educate me on this?
No problem.
You're more than welcome to. I'm here to learn. But When you were growing up, you said you were heavier. Were other members of your family heavier as well? Did y'all talk about it? Was it a conversation, or did you just feel how did you feel? Like, how did that make you feel when your mom would dress you in dark clothes? Like, was there a conversation that said, "I'm dressing you this way because," or did you just know and you felt shame, or was there any of that?
Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot of shame for being fat. My mother was fat, my dad was fat, my grandmother was fat, but none of my brothers and sisters were overweight. They were all thin. But I also think that it had a lot to do with genetics because we don't share the same fathers. Um, but growing up, I was told that I was fat and that fat wasn't acceptable. But it was really hard for me to accept it when my peers or the people who I looked up to were fat.
Mhm.
So I knew that something was off. I was just like, it's not okay for me to be fat, but you're fat as well. I know I'm a kid, but shouldn't you lead an example for your children as well?
Right.
Um, but at that time, it just didn't make sense. Now, looking back at it, being older, I can see it. But yeah, there wasn't really a conversation about it's okay, or it was always a negative thing. And I was constantly being yelled at or teased. And then my mom would feel bad when I was being teased for being fat. And there just came with a lot of baggage being fat, and especially in a Hispanic family where or in that culture, it's not really acceptable, but they feed you all the time, which is bizarre.
Yes, yes.
So it's like a double-edged sword. I don't know. It's really interesting, but all I can take from that experience is know that I don't ever want to talk to my children like that. Like I know what not to do and to accept them.
I once heard someone say, and I thought, "Oh, that's so powerful." I now know because of my boss or because of my mother or insert whatever it is, what kind of mother I want to be, because you also know what you don't want to be. And I think that
Exactly.
that's, really powerful, but I also hate that you went through that. I don't think that just breaks my heart for any child to have to go through that. How is y'all's relationship now? How do they feel about everything now?
My father has never had an issue with my size because he's always been a larger person his whole life, even when he was a kid. I think my mother has been able to see both sides of being thinner and then bigger. I think my mom is the one person who had a hard time accepting the fact that I wanted to be a positive advocate for plus size community. She felt like if I was an advocate for it, that I would stay fat.
Mhm.
And I would surround myself with that. And I think it was just more of an insecurity that she had with herself. And I had to accept that and not real I don't want to say I don't want to listen to my parents, but I just had to ignore the fact of my mom's opinion that she had for the plus size community and try to show her how this community is just like any other community, but we just want to feel welcomed and not an outsider. And I try to tell my mom positive messages, or whenever she sees me, she doesn't like something on me, I just try to brush it off. Because if I pay more attention to those negativity comments, then that just allows her to continue saying them. I just think if you ignore them, they'll get the message that it doesn't concern me.
Right, right. So tell me how you got on Project Runway.
On Project Runway, well, back in 2015, I had lost my grandmother, who was my number one supporter, advocate. She's the one who taught me how to sew. She had passed away, and 2 days after, I received an email from the Project Runway casting saying that the applications were open. I guess I was on their files of designers to contact to let them know when the applications are open. So I got that email, and I'm reading the email while I'm in my studio in my parents' garage, and I'm reading the grand prize out loud. And at the time, my cousin was my assistant, and she was just like, Ashley, you got to do this. You got to apply for Project Runway. Like your grandma would have wanted you to do this. Like I'll help you fill out the application because I know that you struggle with reading and writing. And so for 2 weeks, we filmed an audition tape, filled out the application, sent everything off. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I received a phone call to come back and have a live audition in front of the producers. And so I went through all the way of the audition. And 2 months later, I got a call back saying that I was on the show. And everything from there just changed my life, from getting ready to go on a national television and closing down my business, packing everything up, mentally and physically trying to get myself ready, and then pick out a wardrobe for myself to be on this show. Because being a plus size person, I always worry about what I'm wearing and how I'm presenting myself. So if I could, schedule all my outfits out before I get on show, then I wouldn't have to worry about how I look, and I can just focus on the challenge that is in front of me. So that was kind of like my method of, before I went on the show, what was I doing?
Right, right. What was that process like? Like, what was it like going there? Did you have to all stay in the same hotel? Were there early morning calls? Like, what's the timeline that they filmed that?
Oh yeah, you are thrown into the twilight zone because you've never seen what this is. It's like a whole nother world. TV it's crazy. I wish there was just a TV show on the behind the scenes world.
I do too. I think that would be fascinating. I've always wondered that. I've just always thought that would be so fascinating to see
Oh my gosh, it is.
the whole thing. Yeah.
So we filmed in New York City, or actually in New York, and then we filmed for 6 weeks. We do live together after maybe a few days of being there, because there's this whole setup thing where they don't want none of the contestants to talk to each other for the first few days until they actually get it on camera. So we're all secluded. But we do live with each other for the rest of the show. Our call time can be anywhere from 5 till 7 a.m. in the morning. It all depends. We get mic'd. We all have morning reality where you see us talking in our apartments about what's going to happen. And then we all get put in a van. We don't know where we're going.
Are you conscious then of the cameras there, or do you kind of forget? Are you like, okay, I know I'm getting ready, but there's a camera there and I got to watch what I say? Or do you know?
Yes, you're always cautious of the cameras and what you say. There's about anywhere from 40 to 50 hours of footage that goes into a 1-hour TV show.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because one challenge can take anywhere from 2 to 3 days to film.
Right, totally.
So there's like the day that you get the challenge, and then there's the day that you do the challenge, and then there's the next day, which is the runway. And then after the runway, the next day is another challenge. So you don't get any time to breathe.
Right.
Like you try to take every time you can to sleep, get the energy, like the things that you need to be ready for the next day. And like sometimes we would have one day off, but it wasn't very much.
Would you pay $1 a day for more energy, focus, and drive? That's what I get with BeeKeepers Naturals B-Powered Superfood Honey. Every day, I take a spoonful of their BeePowered honey, and every night, I go to bed after my kids, which is saying a lot. Before BeePowered, I'd be totally out of energy by 4 p.m. Can anyone relate? Running a growing business while being a mom to 3 kids, including some pretty wild twin boy toddlers, it's exhausting. But with BeePowered, I feel more focused and driven than I have in a while, like maybe even before kids. You know I wouldn't try to sell you something that I don't believe in and actually use myself, but I love my BeePowered, and now I honestly can't imagine my life without it. If you want 15% off BeePowered, go to zimmermanpodcast.com/B to get yours today. That's zimmermanpodcast.com/BEE. I've always wondered this, and this is such a boring question, but I've just always wondered. Do they come around and say, "Hey, we're gonna order from this place. What do you want to eat?" Or do you have to, like, fill out ahead of time, "These are my likes and my dislikes and what I'm allergic to," and you just get what you get?
Oh yeah. So what they take care of you. When you've been told that you're going to be on the show, you fill out all these forms of what you're allergic to, what you prefer to eat, what do you want to have stocked in the refrigerators at home and in studio. Yeah, because they want to make sure that we're comfortable. Like if there's something that we need, they'll go and find it. Like I know one of my requests is to always have avocado and tomatoes and tortillas
Mhm.
for
Yes,
being Hispanic. I was like,
yes.
I need that because you can't get any, fresh guacamole in New York City. So I was like, I prefer to make it. But yeah, they always took care of us. They always made sure that we had what we needed. They always catered our lunches, dinners, and breakfast. And then if we were hungry when we got home, they would order something. So they always made sure we were good.
What was your emotional state when you won? Because I'm sure there's part of you that's like, "Oh, I'm so glad I won. I'm so grateful, and now I've got this prize." And then there's probably a part of you that's like, "I don't even care because 'cause I'm exhausted." And then there's probably a part of you too that thinks, "Now I gotta, like, carry this on. I've got this responsibility as a winner to, like, do something with this." Like, what is going through your mind?
Oh my gosh, there were so many things. I guess I'll start off by right after Heidi told me that I won. It was it was like almost my life flashed before my eyes. Like all the moments that I wanted to give up just went through my mind immediately. And like it was almost a reflection back of like, thank you for never giving up, Ashley, because it all came down to this. And everything that you did, everything that everyone has helped you, it's all supported this and it finally paid off. And then it came down to like, oh my gosh, not only did I win, but every fat person that's watching this show feels the win with me. It's like
Mm,
our voices have been finally answered and heard,
mm.
and we are not going to be missed anymore. Like this was the first time that plus size fashion was able to walk down New York Fashion Week. That's never been done before. And so for Project Runway to allow me and to announce me the winner, it was like a double win for us. So I won back in September of 2015, and everybody found out 3 months later that I won. So when they found out, I was getting a lot of backlash of that, I didn't deserve to win. And so that automatically made me feel like I didn't deserve to win. And then Tim Gunn had came out with a podcast interview, and he said that I was a token to Project Runway, a token winner, and that I should have never won, and that all I did was promote bad plus size fashion, and that I look like a float in a parade because I wore tutus all the time.
Oh my gosh.
So to hear that from my mentor and someone who I have looked up to for years since Project Runway started, it really hurt. And I had to go through a lot of, I'm not going to lie, I went to therapy a lot after Project Runway because I experienced a lot of PTSD
Mhm.
from Project Runway. Like I would wake up with nightmares, or not nightmares, but like dreams of me thinking that they're filming me while I'm asleep.
Mhm.
And so I was going to therapy a lot for that because I didn't know why I was having these dreams. And I would get a lot of anxiety whenever I was given challenges just in, in life. Like it just, I guess I just cared so much about what other people thought of me because I was on TV and I was being judged by these people who I looked up to, that it was really hard for me to make decisions without thinking what 100 people would think about.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's who cares? Like, do what makes me happy, do what I love to do, and people will love that. But it took me a long time to get over all of that until I actually started reading Identity from Robert Fritz. I don't know if you've ever heard of Robert Fritz, an
Yeah,
author.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I've taken his courses a couple of times. He's a huge mentor of mine, and him helping me find my identity and my creativity and things like that has really helped me get over a lot of fears that Project Runways has created in my head.
That's really good. I listen, I'm a big fan of therapy. I'm in it once a week, every
Yes.
Tuesday. I mean,
I love
I've
it.
I've been in it for 2 years now. Every Tuesday, I won't miss it. I mean, it's such I find it really fascinating to educate yourself about yourself. It's
Yes,
fascinating.
exactly.
What did you learn? What was, like, your biggest takeaway from therapy?
Hmm. I guess just realizing what type of person I am and
Which is
a very loving and creative person, but I could be passive aggressive when people just strike me the wrong way, and how I can't constantly react on my emotions, and that I have to take the time to really think things out and weigh it between of something that I want somebody like I can't control people. There's like a lot of things that I break down that I've learned from Robert Fritz. It's like you can't expect people to do certain things, and you can't expect people to change, and just kind of critical thinking about certain situations and things that I want to do in my life, it just really helped me understand myself, love myself, and be more kinder to myself in my mind. Because we're all in our heads constantly, and it's a battle, and it it kind of just plays a part in our lives. And if I could just have that, you know, not have that stress on me anymore, I could live life a little bit more peaceful.
yeah, I remember being, gosh, like 6 years old and laying in bed and thinking, "So I never get a break from me. So I'm always with me." Like, I'm
Mhm,
always gonna be having these I don't know, it
mhm.
is kind of fascinating, you know? I mean, you're just always with yourself, which I think is why, we often try to numb ourselves with, with things and,
Exactly. I mean, I wish I had somebody explain all of this to me and how my mind is programmed. Learning from Robert, it's like I realized that all of our minds are programmed differently from the get-go, and it's all stems from where we've learned from our parents, from our teachers, from our grandparents, things like that. And it's kind of what mold us into believing certain things because they believed in it. So it just kind of showed me that I may have thought that certain things in my past were the right way, but no, this is the way that I want to do it. I'm not going to say it's the right way just because someone told me it was the right way. I'm going to make that decision or have a different perspective on it, things like that.
you gotta just do what feels right in your soul, in your gut.
Mhm.
Totally. I remember my father saying to me, and he's very, very wise, but I remember him saying, because I'm incredibly passionate and I can get fired up about things, or I can get really happy for other people and excited. And I would get disappointed, easily by other people's reactions. And I remember him saying to me, "You cannot expect other people to react the way you would. Like, you just can't. Like, the way you are going to handle something, that's just not how everybody's gonna handle it, and that's okay, and you can't look down upon that or think badly of that. You just have to be good with how you would do it, and that's it." Okay, well, shifting gears back to fashion, did you have we're about to go into the business side of it. Did you have growing pains when you transitioned from a more solopreneur, I'm assuming, life before Project Runway to working with a brand like, JCPenney?
What was hard through that process was not letting my ideas be watered down by a corporate company.
Good.
There was a reason why I wanted to design this, and there was a reason why they hired me. And so I always reminded myself that. And I remember there was a situation where I think I was on my second or third collection with them. And I kind of already figured how to work with them and understood that I'm going to, be designing a lot clothing, but when it comes down to it, they're going to narrow it down and we're going to pick through it. And I have to stand up for what I believe in my designs. And so I wanted to create a pair of biker shorts. And this is before biker shorts became a trend, not only because I felt like it was going to be a huge trend comeback. I always felt like fashion was recycled and we were in betweens of letting go of the 80s trends and the vintage trend into going into the 90s. Like I felt like I was going to have to recircle back all the 90s trends because they were slowly making a comeback. So that's why I decided to do biker shorts. And not only for the trends, but biker shorts are great for plus size women because we chafe in between our thighs. And especially that summer was coming up and I was creating a lot of cute dresses. I wanted to create a biker short that had a cute lace trimming at the bottom on your thigh so that if like your skirt was to flare up or anything, like at least they wouldn't look like sporty biker shorts. They look like cute, sexy shorts. And so I literally had to fight for those
Mm.
and like plead my case to JC Penney's to tell them why we needed this. And that became one of their top sellers.
Oh, good for you. Good for you for speaking up. And that had to make you feel so good, right?
It did. It really did. Because my manager would kept telling me, Ashley, we're not leaving this office until you tell them again that we need those biker shorts. And I'm like, I already said it. They're not listening. He's like, just do it again. Like,
Right.
I believe in you and I believe in your thinking because we saw that JCPenney's did not have one single plus size person working in their plus size department. And I was
Mm.
like, how could this be? You need a plus size person there to be able to think through these issues, these sizing issues, the fabric problems, like all of this. Like, only a plus size person is going to be able to tell you the needs and the wants that we want because you don't live in our shoes.
And I think we're finding this out more and more. I was speaking with someone earlier today. It was a private conversation, but it was something she had spoken with her friend who was representing someone who worked for a company that the whole company was targeted to. I mean, this is who they sold to. It was all Latina women.
Mm-hmm.
And there was not one Latina that worked there. And it was like, well, how do you do that? How
Yeah.
do you do that? Yeah. We're finding this out more and more, and these are problems, and we've got to fix it. And so I love that you notice that. You notice that there's not. Why is there no one in that's plus size working in plus size?
Yeah. Like, where are you getting these feedbacks from your plus size models
Right. Right.
who are a size 12 and is barely the beginning size of plus size?
Right. 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 Totally. Oh, that is frustrating.
Yeah. But I think they learned a lot from me being in that position.
What does that look like? I've always wondered when you have and I'm sure everyone's different, but you see someone like Joanna Gaines being with Target or, you with JCPenney. What does that collaboration look like? Like, is it really, do you feel like with your experience that, it sounds like you were heard, you had to kind of push your point, but you were heard, but you are also involved with someone else's brand. You're kind of merging two brands. And then is it a partnership? Is it a 50-50 thing? Is it a one-time, here's your pay, and now you're going to help us? Like, what does all that look like?
It was really difficult for me to even understand what that looked like because it's basically a licensing deal for your face and your name. I didn't realize that that's what it was until probably I was done. Because when I got into the influencer work or the collaborations, I say that word parentheses because back in 2016, I feel like that was new words for us, especially for me being a designer. I was like, I'm not what's an influencer? What's a collaboration or influencer collaboration or a brand ambassador? Like all of that was very new. So what people don't know is when I was working with JC Penney's, I was working with a third party company who was basically the middleman. And this middleman was the person who created the collaboration, and they
Mm.
would just translate it to me and JC Penney's. I did get to work with JC Penney's hand on hand with the designs, but when it came down to the marketing, promotion, fashion show, social media, all of that, I was not in existent to that. So when they first introduced this collaboration, they wanted me to be a brand ambassador. They did not want me to design. They just wanted me to sign off on their designs that I did not approve of.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept asking me, well, what do you want this collaboration to be? And I said, I want to design. And they're like, well, what if we curated a collection that wasn't, no. I want to design. And so I basically, when JCPenney's was in the beginning of, working out the contract and, really trying to get me to sign it, we had this corporate meeting at their headquarters in Plano, Texas. And they flew in Nina Garcia for the meeting, and we sat down and they told me what they needed and what they wanted to do in the their plus size section in all their stores. And then I told them how I could be an asset for them and how this is what I see the collaboration being like, and this is what you got to do because I am the voice for this plus size community. And then basically after that meeting was done, Nina Garcia came up to me and she was like, you need to triple your offer amount and you need to design for the company. And the reason why Nina Garcia was there was because she was the brand ambassador at that time and she was about to exit and I was going to come in. So she gave me her attorneys and everything. And she was like, they will take care of you. Like, she just believed
That's
in me
incredible.
so much that she really helped me through this process. And nobody knows that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that.
Yeah. So it was a huge learning experience, especially working with a corporate company. And then
Did the contract come up, or was it like a year contract, 2-year contract?
it was an 18-month contract where I got to create 3 capsule collections. And by the time we got to the last collection, I had no say in it.
Mm.
I feel like it's a repeating pattern that they do with collaborations. And I just felt like JCPenney's was on their way of a comeback when I entered in, and just looking at their stocks before I came in and when I came in, it literally went up. I mean, I brought a whole new target, like a target
Yeah.
of people to JCPenney's because JCPenney's never used to be the place for plus size fashion. And it was one of the newest spots to be shopping for plus size, especially in any state you go to, there's a JCPenney's in your local mall. And how fun would it be to be able to shop with people who's not your size, but in the same department store? So that was kind of where my thinking was and why I wanted to be with a company like them. But then by the time I was exiting JCPenney's, I could see that there was this lack of I felt like the company was sinking.
I hope this episode is blowing your mind so far. For years, I hated Pinterest, and I held a grudge for the clients it stole from me when it first came out on the scene. But believe me when I say, Pinterest has earned my forgiveness. Today, I do almost all of my marketing through Pinterest, and I get inquiries from big budget, ideal clients every single week. If you want to start using Pinterest to get leads and money in the bank, you need the power of pinning. Check it out now at thepowerofpinning.com. So you recently pivoted pretty quickly when COVID-19 hit and you started producing masks. It sounds like you are able to, from the JCPenney experience to it's like you're able to go, okay, what's next? You're able to transition. So you pivoted pretty quickly when COVID-19 hit and you started producing masks. So how did that, I mean, I know how it came about, but what was it like to make that transition so quickly?
I mean, it's not just me. I have to thank my manager, Andrew, who has helped me learn the process of pivoting and how it's okay. It's okay. Like, it doesn't define you or it doesn't make you look like a bad person. Like, it only makes you look stronger because you're able to adjust. Me and him kind of put our heads together and we're slowly seeing that things were being affected by the virus in China and how a lot of work that we had going into China was not able to come back out. And we're like, it's only sooner or later before we don't know what it is. We don't know where it's going, but we're starting to see United States panic. And what can we do to help our social media audience feel a little bit at ease? Or how can I help them communicate that, we're in a crisis right now, but don't be afraid. We can't let the unknown scare us. And how I want to be here to kind of help you through this process. And we wanted to do something even more. And we started seeing that face masks were going to be a huge trend in the fashion trend. And this was before coronavirus happened. So we were like, this is weird. Coronavirus is happening, fashion masks are coming in. We need to jump on this bandwagon. So I think March 15th, I created my first sample. And 3 days later, we had 20 different prints of masks on our website. And we were donating and selling masks. And now we've donated over 5,000 masks and have made over 15,000 masks, like sold them worldwide.
That's incredible.
It's been insane to change from being a clothing designer to a sewing teacher, a self-love teacher, and then be creating masks. And our whole team has changed, our whole environment has changed, and we've had to kind of just problem solve and really work together and communicate, and it's made our team so much more stronger.
That's incredible. I mean, even your masks, they still feel like you.
Aww.
How important is it to not only meet, a real need, but do it in a way that retains your brand identity? Because you seem to have a very clear understanding of what your brand is.
Thank you. It takes a lot of work to understand your brand and to make sure that your audience understands your brand. I think what is one thing that as a brand we keep reminding ourselves is like what feels like Ashley, what's true to me, because there's so many voices out there that people can persuade you to do certain things because they want to. And I've played that game so many times that I never got the reaction that I wanted. And so I just always told myself to stay true to myself and not try to mold myself to something that somebody wants me to be. And there's a reason why people love me for who I am, because I'm so authentic and true to myself.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, that when you were talking about just the collaboration with JCPenney and being on reality TV show, I mean, there's a lot of opinions, coming at you. And I'm just wondering, how do you keep your head down and listen to the voices that actually matter in your life when there's so much coming at you?
I think it's all about hearing it and how you process it. And if it involves you or matters you, or is it something that you already had an idea to and it's only a message telling me that I should go through with it. So I think it's all about how you how you absorb things and what benefits you and what doesn't benefit you.
Yeah.
I think it's all about what I've learned with Robert and how I let things be processed and how I take those things out of my mind. It's practice every day.
Yeah, it is.
from my family saying one thing to working in a business or owning your own business and dealing with customer service and things like that. I mean, I can't believe that I'm about to be 29 this year and I've learned so
I
much.
can't believe you've done so much. You're an overachiever. I mean, you've done a lot. I say that
Thank
I say
you.
that in the best way. I mean, I think that's
Thank you.
incredible. How do you disconnect from work and invest in self-care?
Um, my favorite place is my home. And so I'm this year I'm recently a mother of plants. So I have so much plants in my home that I love walking around, watering my plants, cleaning the leaves, taking care of them, talking to them. It's a whole new thing for me. And I find so much meditation and it just feels so good. Like I don't feel like there's this gray cloud over my house anymore. I feel like there's so much clean air and brightness and happiness and positivity in my home that that's how I spend my self-care is like taking care of my home because I know my home's going to take care of me. And also listening to my body, knowing when I need to be out in the sun or go out in nature, especially with being in COVID. Um, we've had to stay in a lot of the times, and just going outside on my front lawn with no shoes on just makes me feel so much better to feel the grass in my toes. Like it
Mhm.
sounds so weird, but it's just being one with nature that is really great self-care for me.
Definitely. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you for being so open and honest and answering all of those questions. I've got one more for you. I always end every episode asking this question. I just always think it's fascinating. So, if you had Oprah's money, okay, so you had billions of dollars and you had to spend it on yourself on something totally selfish, okay? Can't not for anyone else, but just for you. What would you buy?
Hmm. And I did hear this from your other podcast, and I was like, "Ooh, this is what I would say." My original answer would be my dream home,
Yes, yes, and you were
but
just saying your home means so much to you, yeah.
my dream home, or probably like a really expensive designer bag,
Ugh, yeah, I mean, why not?
which which was my first purchase after winning Project Runway. After I took care of everything I needed to,
What
I was
was
like,
it?
it was a Chanel quilted backpack.
Oh, and you still
I was
have
like,
it.
I still have it. It's my prized possession, and I've never spent that kind of money on anything.
What color did you get?
It was black leather. It was like my traveling backpack.
If you're gonna spend that, you go classic, right? I mean,
Exactly, because all I could think about is you're investing in a piece that doesn't do anything but collect time and value.
yes, yes.
Because Chanel never repeats itself. It
Oh,
always
so
brings
true.
things in different variations, but, like, to have a piece that there's only so many of them out there, it's like a collection.
I remember one time I was looking, online somewhere, and I told Brian, I said that's my husband, I said, "I should just buy, like, a Chanel purse and just, like, keep it," because these 1960s Chanel
I
purses that are, like, in
know.
great condition are going for so much money, so much
Mhm.
more, than, like, the ones that you can currently buy. I was like, "I should just buy one and put it in the closet for 40 years and then and then sell it."
I know, but it's like thousands of dollars just sitting
No,
there.
but man, if it'll
I know,
appreciate
right?
like that, then that's worth it. I don't know, but, so where would your dream house be? Where would it be at?
I think it would be here in San Diego along the
I
beach.
love San Diego. We just were there about 8 months ago. My family and I went. We stayed, like 10 days. We had the best time. I loved it.
Where'd you guys stay?
We stayed in an Airbnb. It was right by Balboa Park.
Oh, Balboa Park,
Uh-huh,
okay.
it was right there, and it was I mean, we just did so many things. We went to the beach, we went to museums, we went to really good oh my gosh, we went to that one Mexican restaurant that,
In Old Town?
yeah, it's like there's always a line outside the door.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it is, but yeah, there's a lot of Mexican restaurants in Old Town that are known for
I mean, it was
like
just amazing.
authentic Mexican food.
I don't even know if this was Old Town. This might have been just even, like, right outside San Diego, but it was incredible. I'll have to think of it,
Oh
but it
wow,
was so
yes.
good. I just love
But
it.
San Diego's beautiful. It's so relaxing. It's so clean. I mean, this is the place I've been born and raised. I've traveled a lot, and it's still my favorite city.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for coming on here. You have been delightful. You're, like, one of my favorite guests.
Aw.
You've just been such a joy to talk to. Thank you for being open and honest and just sharing your heart with us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate you having me on here and introducing me to your audience, which hello everyone.
Yes, of course. Tell us where we can find you.
You can find me at ashleynelltipton.com and any social media sites using Ashley Nell Tipton.
Perfect. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back and chat with us again.
Of course. I'll talk to you about the next pivot I have
I
in my
love
life.
it. That sounds perfect. Okay, thanks, Ash.
Thanks.
Ashley, thank you so much for being here today. Zimmerman listeners, I hope you loved today's episode. I felt so inspired hearing Ashley's conviction about her purpose in her business, in her role in the plus size community, and her confidence that she can always pivot into the next venture. Ashley is a queen at learning more, being flexible, and being 100% herself as she grows both as a person and as a brand. It was such a privilege to have Ashley on the show today. I'd love to hear your favorite moments from today's episode. Share them with me on Instagram at JessicaZimmerman_. I'll see you next week on Zimmerman Podcast.
If you loved what you heard today, even if you liked it a lot, you should subscribe and leave a review. We'll see you back here next time in the Zimmerman Podcast.